Okay, it's the Real Wargamer, playing Raid Commando Operations in the 20th Century. Strategy and Tactics magazine game from 1977. Raid is a tactical level simulation of commando tactics and operations from World War II to the near future. The game is played by scenario. There are several historical scenarios as well as provisions for the players to make up their own. So this is what I'm planning on doing, building on what I've talked about before. Okay, so I want to play Raid, but I'm not interested at all in the whole commando operations things at all. Not interested in that subject matter or setting or anything. So this is what I'm going to do. Got my map set up here. Got the rules. I've got a photocopy of tables. Same on the back. This is a really really egregious errata, but it's also so obvious that I even remember it from many months ago. So all of these modifiers for the 7 column are obviously supposed to be negative. -1, -4, -1. I remember that. So I got my tables there. Second copy of the rules, and I've got in addition to the magazine itself, I've got the errata. Let's see if there's anything else major. Major. I don't know. Okay, rubble, casualties, close assault restrictions, helicopters at nape of the earth, helicopters, altitude, gunships, M203s, rifle grenades, yeah. I don't see anything major. I mean, they all are important, but not major. Okay, so what I did is I started looking at the first scenario, which is given. The first scenario is Entebbe, 3 July 1976. It's given best played solitaire, given as a learning scenario only, but I'm not even going to follow that. I looked at it as a possibility. I saw 6 fire teams for Alpha Force against 3 fire teams for Bravo Force. This, I think, is a fairly, lopsided scenario. Well, in a sense, I call it lopsided, primarily because of this right here. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but it's not the force. It's not the 2-to-1 force ratio, and it's not the fact that Bravo Force is deployed in buildings, although those are advantages, one to each side, but this is what gets me. Alpha Force executes combat on the auto line, Bravo Force on the semi line. So anyways, after looking at those scenarios, I thought I would just take 6 fire teams for each side. My idea here is meeting engagement of 2 forces of exactly the same force. This is to get back into the mechanics, though, but it's also, I want to get back into mechanics in a setting that I'm thinking about. So both sides are going to be auto. So this for me is near future, very near future combat. 2, first world armies here. Platoon against platoon. Actually, they're kind of I mean, they are platoons, but almost platoon minuses. But anyways, they're going to go against each other, exact same, no difference, meeting engagement. I'll probably just have the green force start. So you got a bunch. They're just going to fight it out in the center of the map. Here's the center of the map right here. Geographically, or not geographically, by map sheet, here's the center. You have this mix of forest, some, what do they call it, medium terrain, and you do have some elevation involved here. So I was thinking I'll just have the green forest start over here on the other side of woods and stuff here. Have the brown forest or tan forest start over here on this side of this low rise, and they're just going to go against each other. Again, this is definitely just to pick up the very basics. We're talking very, very basic to the point of sequence of play, movement, combat. The only thing not really raid-esque is we have two, with everything as I play here, these are going to be top-line forces with respect to how raid looks at that. Skimming the rules to recall some of the salient design points, aspects, really got me interested in playing again. And I was remembering, I think I want to get to all of the extra weapons and weapon systems. Yeah, okay. So we can get started. All right, so this is very much going to be a thinking and reviewing a game. Gonna really quickly set up the tan forces, but there are still some considerations, right? First thing is scale matters. These are fire teams, so you have 4 figures there, and they are supposed to represent 4 actual soldiers. So Alpha Team, 3rd Platoon, Alpha Team, 3rd Squad, 1st Platoon, Bravo Team of the same, Alpha Team, 2nd Squad, 1st Platoon. So this is all 1st Platoon, this is 1st Squad, 2nd Squad, 3rd Squad, all riflemen. Game scale matters, or scale matters. I don't know about game scale, but scaling matters, scale matters. Each hex is 25 meters from side to side, and each game turn represents 2 minutes of real time. So 25 meters from side to side means to me, that means to me that it's not too should not be too unreasonable to have 2 teams or a squad in one hex, right? So a squad can concentrate, or it can, make a well, yeah, it's a line, okay, a line, or of course it can disperse even more. But I'm going to start out with the tan side, 1st Platoon, like that. So squads concentrated and in a V formation. Okay. Sure, I said this in a video a long time ago, but with hundreds of videos, probably lost in the hours and hours. This is the game that originally prompted me to start taking a look at my own contemporary, small unit combat action design tick. So because of that, there might be times when I'm motivated to oh, how funny. That is really interesting. There may be times, I just noticed something. I'll talk about that in a minute. There may be times when I want to talk about and refer back to the fun I had thinking through the basics of a small unit combat action game that I was calling Tick. Let me see. Let me pause. Yes, I've talked before about my own timeline because it's not, it's not what I would call typical. And yeah, and as I just noticed. Okay, first of all, here's the errata printed out, and I think of Raid as being a game that I first, tried to play myself solo when I was. I remember Raid as being around the time when I was deciding, okay, I can play Hex and Counter war games regularly. And right there, the errata was printed out in December of 2014, a couple days before Christmas. That I'm pretty sure is a very accurate indication of when I was first really trying to get Raid, and which was the same time that I was trying to get serious about Hex and Counter Wargame for the first time in my life. So yeah, that's about right. So if I go back, 3 years, I guess, 5, 6, 7, yeah. That's when I was really trying to seriously get into full-blown Hex and Counter war games. Go back a couple years before this, I was trying to get into some of the more simpler Hex and Counter war games, and go back just a couple years before that was really when I really started getting into war games at all on a regular basis. Okay, that was a complete detour and aside. I just noticed that date sitting there on the table, and I thought, hey, there's something significant about that. Okay, so I'm going to do something different with the Green Force. They are going to deploy more in a more dispersed manner. And we'll see, it'll be a mix, right? They'll have a concentrated center, they'll have dispersed flanks there. Okay, Raid uses a structured sequence of play. Game turns, players move and fire and bring off-map artillery to bear to win in the scenario. Each game turn is controlled by a rigid sequence of play. The sequence outline, command and control phase. I guess, I'll go with the first Entebbe scenario, which says command and control is not in effect, not used. We'll get to that. Direct fire phase. All right, we get right into direct fire phase. Players roll the die. I got my brown and green die for each side. Oh, probably reroll ties. Well, probably reroll ties, but let's see. Players roll the die to determine who's the first player. The player may. Okay, so I guess we do have to. All right. So Tan Force is going to go first. The player may then cause one or more of his units to fire. Oh, obviously can't see each other. Why did I even bother? All right. Actually, I don't even need to reroll. So Tan player, let's go on to the next phase, is movement. Players roll the die, determine who moves first. What I'm getting at is I so like the back and forth by each move and fire. But anyways, how do they explain it? The first player then moves a unit or stack of units hex by hex across the map. While he's executing this move, second player may interrupt using opportunity fire. And then after that's complete, the second player moves one of his units or stacks in the same way, etc., etc. Yep, control alternate moves. Now that's obviously the first question is, does that mean that a unit can fire as many times as it is triggered in opportunity fire? We'll see that when we get to our first case of that. Do we have to? No, I don't think we have to I'm trying to remember if there was anything unusual. I think that, oh yeah, obviously movement allowance is not printed on the units because the units only have their designation. We know that. Is there anything else unusual? See, and one obvious thing right away. So let me do the first thing. So we have 2 fire teams together stacked in the center there. As a matter of fact, no, we'll move with the center first. Okay, so fire teams and LMGs, look like machine guns, have a basic movement allowance of 6. All right, so 6. We have our terrain effects chart, which is also printed on the map. We have in front of us, we have clear woods, and we'll get to the medium terrain there, and we have the elevations. I don't think the elevations cost anything. Although I guess that's where, with an expansion and or redo of this game, you could actually add more like drop-offs and escarpments and cliffs and stuff. But here, I think it's just here. I'll put the. I think it's just. Whoops, that's not. Yeah, well, that's not going to work. All right, so they have 6. So I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and wood is considered heavy. That's 3. Okay, so it won't. We'll go here. All right. Again, I don't think there's anything unusual. That was our movement allowance. We spent our movement points from our allowance. Effects of roads and trails. Restrictions. I just want to make, this is a total aside, so I'll get through it quickly. This is exactly the example, and I know I'm beating up on a very old game. It doesn't matter. We still see it today. I still see it today. This is so annoying. So we have the example. A fire team has a movement allowance of 6 movement points. It could not move more than 6 clear terrain hexes in any one turn, because this would require it to spend more than 6 movement points. What is so annoying about that, designers? When you go to provide an example for a rule mechanic, you don't use the most basic, obvious, straightforward example. Why would anyone need that example spelled out? How about explaining something at least a little bit more involved? I wouldn't even say complex, but involved. Even best is do some testing and figure out which topics actually that human beings actually have trouble grasping the first time through. Okay, this is a perfect example. This is, in combat or line of sight, it is so annoying to see the most obvious, simplest example spelled out. Why do you spell out the simplest example? Unbelievable. Now we're going to alternate. So let's see. So I'm looking at the first green unit there. I guess think in terms of cover. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Thinking in terms of, let's do this. The woods are considered heavy terrain, and the cost is 3. So let's take the first, the center squad there, 3 and 6. Okay. Let's see, and then I'll go all the way through the. Oh, well, here we go. Effects of trails. Let's figure out what the trails do here. When a ground unit moves so that its path coincides with the path of a road or trail, it ignores the cost of moving through other terrain. Okay. I'm trying to figure out if there's any other variation to that, because Yeah, there is not. So it's okay. I'm playing rules as written, but actually this is another example of a kind of a rule and a detail that I kind of prefer, that the player can decide not to use the trail and to use the terrain, but I don't see an option here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they know they're going to go through the wood line. They know that when they go into the wood line, that they both can see beyond the wood line and be seen now, possibly. So let's go with 3, 4, 5, 6. And let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He'll go 6, so he can stay. I'm assuming, and you know I'm only assuming. Oh well, I guess it still applies. He wants to stay within eye range, within visibility of the other squad there. Okay, and then I'll finish off this movement phase.